Hey, this is Armand with MHPValue.com, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down exactly what our free evaluation on your mobile home park looks like. After you've gone through the process of signing up on our website, sending us the financials, we run through the questions that we need, and then we come up with the final underwriting and full evaluation with our pricing structures of what your park is worth. So what we're using as an example here is a 65 lot park that we evaluated for a client in North Carolina. When we do actually finalize our evaluation, we are going to schedule a Zoom call with you and actually run through and explain our evaluation and how we got to our pricing, as well as some potential sale options as far as should you sell or finance if you want to get the highest price. Is it a good time to sell it assuming a buyer's going to get bank financing, or should you take a lower all cash offer, all depending on your exact scenario with your unique park. We're going to skip this page one because this is the final pricing structure. So once we got your financials, we create here a summary of your rent roll. This is essentially a breakdown of what your lots are, how many are vacant lots, how many are lot renters that are occupied, how many are park-owned homes that are occupied, how many park-owned homes are vacant. If you do have storage units or a playground or rented parking lots, that's also included in here. But this is just to give you and any potential buyer a simple snapshot of the occupancy of your park without having to actually go through and count out the exact rent roll. Now with this, the rent roll that you send us, assuming it's not in an Excel format, we are going to put it in an easy organized Excel format too for you as well. That's not included in this PDF, but it does come with your free evaluation. Moving down here, this page is going to be a summary of your park's income with the park operations separated out from the park and home operations, and then all of it combined together. So again, you could see just an overall summary of how much income you're bringing in. One thing you might have a question on is, what is this current rent roll over adjusted expenses? A big thing we do when we do make our evaluations is we adjust your expenses from like how you run it, which is you might be managing it yourself, you might not be hiring out as much as needed, and we adjust these expenses to how large buyer groups, lenders, and appraisers are going to look at your park. That's a big thing when it comes to accurately evaluating your park rather than just looking at a cap rate of what's in place, because you might be operating your park at, let's say, 20% expense ratio, but in reality any large buyer group or lender is going to be hiring out for a lot of those duties, and they're going to be operating at, let's say, 45%. Going to this page, this is our breakout of your land income. And again, this is what your actual income is going to look like, as well as your expenses for whatever year financials that you bring in, that you give to us. We have all of your expenses breaking out in a very simple, easy to read format. And then again, we do adjust the expenses here, and you see what type of net operating income we come up with the expense ratio that we have based on how other groups are going to run this. And then we do pro forma out year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a theoretical infill assumptions of, let's say you have a lot of vacant lots or homes that need to be rehabbed, and expenses associated with that a buyer group is going to be looking at. And we do take into account the upside and the infill opportunities of your park. And aside from this evaluation, what we actually do go over on our Zoom call is we have financing assumptions as well as a 10-year pro forma where we actually look at the internal rate of return on your park. So that way we see, yeah, they might be going in at a lower cap rate and higher price for you, but a way to sell that is that you have this internal rate of return on an assumed 5, 7, or 10-year exit, like a lot of these large investment group buyers are going to be doing. So now on this page, this is the park-owned home income and with the associated expenses, again, broken out in an easy-to-read format. In this particular example, you might see a lot of zeros here for their financials. That's because they do not have their park-owned home income broken out from the land income on the way they do their rent roll and leases and how they collect their income. So we have that all grouped together back here on the land page. But when we evaluate it, we do break that out. As you'll see here, we have the 349 broken out from the 366 lot rent income. And that way, again, when a bank is looking at financing your park, they typically only take into account the lot rent income. So it's important to maximize your value that you actually have that separated out, because applying a cap rate to the total income of your park is not actually going to be financeable when it comes down to it. Now with this, the rent roll summary, income summary, land operations, and park-owned home operations, we finish off with the actual pricing of the park. In this particular scenario, this is a situation where the seller wants to sell the park. She and her husband are motivated, but not in a dire need to sell it now. It all depends on the pricing they could get. Before the interest rates changed, they were looking to get upwards of $3 million. With interest rates moving up, the realistic pricing actually came down, and we actually break out exactly why based on debt assumptions and where the debt markets sit today. We have that data to actually back this up from multiple closed transactions and networking with every single large buyer group out there. What kind of bank financing assumptions you should be making, and we could plug that into our model and show you exactly why, hey, maybe in January this year you could have gotten 2.5 to 2.7 million for your park, but now it's less than 2 million based on the way that you have your income structured and the way the debt markets are sitting. And we give, in this scenario, a few different options on how they could still stretch that value to the 2.5+ million that they wanted. But realistically, you might not be able to get that depending on when you want to sell and how you want to sell it. So again, in this case, we provided possible seller financing if she and her husband were adamant about getting 2.5 million. And we plugged in some assumptions there on the type of seller financing you'd have to be giving to get it to make sense at that price for a buyer. And we do take into account what kind of money you want up front. We explain how to vet a buyer if you are going to seller finance. And then again, we could either give you a cash offer now, or in this case, we'll match them with a top brokerage team that we work with to list their park and actually market this in the correct way. And then again, in their scenario here, we show them if someone's going to buy it with traditional bank debt, it's the worst option for them based on what she's told us and what we talked through on our Zoom call. And with these financing assumptions, we actually put the different metrics as far as the cap rate on the land, cap rate combined, cash on cash returns. A big one is the debt service coverage. When a bank looks at this, I'm showing that even at the 1.7 price, it's going to be hard to get that financed. And then option 3, we told her this is likely what you could get from an all cash offer. We had 2.3 million plugged in, but we did have a long talk on this and gave her a real range that we were in this 1.8 to 1.9 million, but they might stretch north of 2. Is to summarize, our goal with the free evaluation we give you is that you probably get cold called by a lot of random direct buyers, or you're getting cold called by brokers. And the issue is that a lot of these direct to seller buyers are actually wholesalers that are going to try and, let's say your park's worth $2 million, get it under contract for 1.7 million, and then they're going to flip that contract without you knowing to an end buyer for 1.9, and they're essentially stealing $200,000 in equity from you. Or on the flip side, you have bad brokers that when they evaluate your park, they're going to overshoot this valuation just to try and lock you into a 6-month listing and then retrade you and bring your price down later after it's sat on market. So when we give you our free evaluation, we're going to give you a few options and advise you on exactly what is probably your best option, all for free. And if it makes sense for you to get your park on market and wait and have a full marketing plan for 3 to 4 months to try and get a higher price, we can advise you to do that. And then on the flip side, when you're looking at getting an immediate offer now and you need to sell this park in the near future, you at least have a good baseline of what the real value of your park is, rather than being told a bunch of nonsense by people who have been cold calling you and coming direct to you unsolicited. Anyways, hope you guys liked that video. If you're watching this on our website, fill out the form to the right or below and we'll get in contact with you. Or if you want to reach out to us directly, you could shoot me an email at contact@mhpvalue.com or call or text me at 561-596-8487. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, where we provide free market updates and tips and tricks for you to ultimately maximize the value of your park when you're selling.